can be rough. I mentioned drafts, though. Let's get into that draft here for the first match. Again, Monopolyman versus Legorve Genine in Copper. Legorve Genine dominant in Oak last season, won every match until the very last one, which they drew against Genine. And some people think might have similar results this season. They are 4-0 coming into this, and not only are they undefeated, they are completely unchallenged, nothing closer than 7-3. But there are a lot of good players in Copper. And yeah, let's take a look at this draft here.
A bit surprising that Legorve bans Aquarium. I would figure that if you feel that you're the stronger player, you're willing to pick some of those venues that are a little more, that I guess high skill cap is how I think of Aquarium with
Mm-hmm.
using the shark. It takes a little bit of finesse, so kind of abusing that finesse that you may have over your opponent, maybe an option if you feel that you're going to win.
That's a very good point. There's some nuance there that I think we sometimes fail to appreciate as casters, which is normally we say that the favorite wants to avoid chaos venues. Occlusion venues are usually considered there. 3-5s, 2-3s. An aquarium certainly can be described as a bit of a chaos venue, but you're right. The flip side is that it's usually a higher skill ceiling on those tougher venues too.
Mhm.
So it can go either way. But Ligorn plays it safe, bans aquarium. Monopolyman bans gallery. Monopolyman restricts courtyard. Legorve restricts terrace. 3-6 there. Monopolyman, well, there we go. There's the flip side of the logic we were just talking about. Monopolyman doubles Tayen, probably. Again, drafting a little bit like a known underdog. Legorve doubles ballroom. Monopolyman picks veranda, and Legorve picks library. So nobody picks the restricted venues this time. But we do have one player banning a chaos venue and another doubling it. And that chaos venue in question is Tayen, 4 of 8. Monopoly Man's double, and Monopoly Man as spy first. Are you gentlemen ready?
I'm ready.
All right, let's go. Let's count it in. Monopoly Man as green dress on Tayen. All bookshelf shojis in 3, 2, 1. Playing it. There is a lot of discussion about how much the shoji setup matters, whether or not Spy should control it, whether or not every player should control it, whether or not it should mirror, etc., etc. But pretty much everyone agrees that having all the statues uncovered is probably the random shoji setup you want the least as Spy.
Yeah, I think it was Urand who said the other day that he felt the shoji setup didn't matter too much. I'm starting to lean that way. I mean, certainly it can help with covering Purloin and the fade on the swap, but I feel like the venue doesn't change too dramatically as you're playing it with different setups.
That's probably right. And you're right, the Purloin thing underappreciated. With this setup, you can kind of get a far right angle and see a lot of those fades you wouldn't be able to otherwise. Regardless, this is what we're stuck with right now. Monopoly Man has an early flirt already. It's only 31%, so we're going to need a green test in there at some point. Our seduction target has already left. This is a little different than last year's Tayen. Last year's Tayen had a couple more guests, I believe it was. And so the occlusion is still pretty extreme, but there's a little less pathing insanity now, despite that little redirect. Although I think it looked pretty darn good. We really can't fit into that conversation yet, though, but we're eyeing it up from the spy camera. It looks like we want to get that second flirt in sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I like that redirect by Monopoly Man. I think that's something that Legorov may reward here. Obviously, we'll know a little bit later. It didn't net him a low light, but it looked pretty good from the sniper side.
Yeah, and the big question is here, do you want to do inspects or not? Do you want to risk a microfilm or not? We're going to go for a briefcase here. Monopoly Man, unsurprisingly, usually bugs on Tan, although it's still a very small sample size. Our seduction target gets low lit. Briefcase return looks pretty good. That's a pretty good reflex there on the ambassador movement, too. All in all,
Purloin. Purloin.
yep. Oh, you're right. There's a Purloin in the meantime. That's all happening during a green Purloin. It's already come off. I don't even know if we're suspected for it, though. Let's take a look at the
DA
sniper
take.
camera here.
Wow.
DA takes is really rough because the fade is not usually visible. So unlike most Purloins, there's a really good chance that if you green it, it's going to be down to 2 at best because they're very unlikely to get a clear look at that fade. But when a cast member takes it, that makes it that much easier. Legorve looks like they're waiting this out, though. The party is not especially active. There are only a few highlights. Monopoly Man is moving around the most, too, and that's usually a good shorthand for who the spy is.
Yeah, and I believe there was a reject after we hit the
Bug.
green.
Wow, bug right into bookcase at the end, and we're just shot immediately. I think it was narrowed down
Yeah.
from the Purloin, and that's a pretty good bug, but you're going to get a better one on Tan. Wow, that's not visible, I don't think. We might have seen a hand snap back through the Shoji, but I think we must have been a big enough suspect that even pathing near the Ambassador was reason enough to take that shot.
Yeah, we were just very active, really. Toward after that Purloin, we were moving around a lot, and then chasing the ambassador over to that bookcase. The hand snap back, and that's exactly where Legorov's crosshair was looking for that hand snap back, and so he was pretty prepared for it there.
Wow, great catch if so, because it is not on screen much. And boy, when you even there, you don't get a look. You don't even know if it's the hand, right? You just see a shadow move around, and you think, well, I guess that's the hand. But if you're already looking for it, that means the spy was probably pretty unlikely to complete missions anyway. Regardless, Legorve, with their 80+% sniper rate this season and last, showing how they arrived at that number, now spying as Leopard. On Tayan again in 3, 2, 1, playing it. We do start next to the Amba, but we also have a drink in our hand, which is going to limit our options. I don't know if that's going to stop us, though. We sure seem to be chasing the Amba, but the Amba is running away, and the Amba is one of the fastest characters, too, so we're not going to catch up. We're just going to end up in an innocent conversation instead. We could take a BB this early. There's no reason for us to suspect the SDA is out of conversation, but they are. So we're going to wait instead, but we're not going to get that early flirt or that early bug or early anything for that matter.
Yeah, not a bad time for a banana bread. We have what, one just sorry is out of conversation?
Yeah, I mean, we know it would have been bad because only a few people would have had a reel, but if you're playing the odds, you don't know who the SDA is. The spy does not know who the SDA is, and they had to assume the SDA was probably in with only 2 people out of conversation. But whether they knew or not, wisely decides not to, does go for a briefcase in the back here, probably hoping it's not entirely seen or noticed with all that occlusion, but we do indeed take it out to the ambassador rather than try to cheese it. We are going to join with our seduction target finally here after all this, right next to them, and whether or not this first flirt is green or not could instruct what we do the rest of the game. We are waiting a reasonably polite amount of time, the standard 5 to 7 spy seconds after entering the conversation. It's a white test, 34%, so we have a fingerprint and a flirt, and we have the makings of a very hard to snipe game on Taiyan right now if this progress continues this carefully.
Don't go telling everyone about that 7-second wait time.
I may or may not have run a few metrics on this, and let's just say that there is definitely a range that spies think
I
is
know.
quick enough, but not too quick, and that itself makes it more suspicious. It looks like we twitched a little bit, I think.
We did,
Maybe, yeah, and I'm not sure if we're trying to confuse Toby or line up for a better bug if and when the ambassador comes by, or maybe a purloin, I don't know, but it looks deliberate. And Legorve has been known to do this sort of things, interrupt talks, twitch, and no one's really punished them for it yet because Legorve, by almost all accounts, is a little under promoted, and they can be pretty darn aggressive here and still find success. We're going to timer flirt. It's another white test, 68%, but it was going to be a 3 flirt regardless, so it doesn't matter too much. Question is, do we want to go for another one? We have about 90 seconds left. The ambassador has put their hands on a center statue. That might be awfully tempting with one fingerprint already. We're going to fake BB, presumably into a bug or something. Let's see.
Banana bread.
Another one, both of them green. We're going to use it to cover for a purloin, but it's going to be a white test instead. Camera shake from the spy. The plan was green purloin after the distraction, but I don't think anyone took before then, and Monopolyman doesn't think so either. Takes the shot, and we are tied at 1.
Yeah, fade very visible there. Monopolyman happened to be zoomed in on it right when it was taken, so he was fairly confident in that fade and took the shot onto Legorve there.
There's a bit of a randomness there as to whether or not the fade's going to be visible. Sometimes the list is the tray, as a matter of fact, is not visible at all for a full 8 or 9 seconds after the purloin's in the back in particular, but that doesn't generally happen in the front, and you're right. You tend to get a better look at the fade in the front. Very often, if you don't, it's down to 2, but in this case, good look at the fade means down to 1, and down to 1 means you're dead. We are tied after 2 games. We're still on Taiyan. Monopolyman playing as Kane in 3, 2, 1, playing it. 2 purloins, 2 shots. Although it might have not been for the purloin the first time.
Yeah, and a trick that you can do on those shojis when you're looking for any type of movement behind them in terms of hands or whatnot is you can put the laser on the person that you're watching, and it adds that extra outline from having the laser on them and makes it a lot easier to see kind of what's going on.
Great point. Pro tip from Platinum Sniper Screw Loose. Everybody listen up. That's a good idea. I thought I was one of the only people who did that. Good job. Monopolyman, by the way, gets the opposite shoji setup. It's all statues this time instead of all books. Doesn't get any of what, well, again, some argument about whether or not it matters. But if it does matter, these are the 2 you don't want. The all or nothing shoji setups. You want that first and second one to offset ideally. At least that's the theory. We can't prove it yet. Don't have enough data. We do get kind of bounced off the conversation originally, and we have a drink, so we go ahead and get a couple of min specs in, but we do find a spot next to our seduction target. That's Queen, and we get a white test, 34%, and we've got partial progress across 2 missions already with 2.5 minutes left.
Yeah, and we're starting the game off with inspecs. We'll see how that works out for Monopolyman. He should be a higher level suspect, and he's still got to get a hard tell through on top of the inspect, contact, and seduce.
And here's the big question. The question is the sniper going to remember the distinction between went to statues and finished inspects? If they're going to remember, and Legorve's a pretty good sniper who probably will, you can get a lot of credit for never finishing that mission, for example. But if it's just rote highlights, which we know the sniper is not doing right now, then it might not be so bad, then it might be bad, rather. There we go. We get a highlight for bouncing off the Amba and not taking a bug. We have a highlight for no bug.
Yeah, we could have taken the bug, too. I mean, you get the highlight for the credit for it anyways. I think it was just an accident by Monopolyman trying to enter the conversation in the game, kind of redirecting him back and forth in a tight spot. But could have taken that K inside kind of wrong arm bug there.
And it's not going to help that we have a real BB talking white test right afterwards, too. It happens shortly after the suspicion accrues in the form of a highlight. So that bang-bang of 2 suspicious things back-to-back can be really big for a sniper. And we're bouncing off this conversation again, too. We stop dead, and no. Legorve is having none of it. It's 3 suspicious things in a row, none of them disposited by themselves, but taken together. That's enough for a sniper the caliber of Legorve to take that shot.
Yeah, I would even say 4. I mean, he left pretty quickly after that banana bread went off, which is something that in my eyes looks a little bit spy-like since there's no value to be had in that conversation. You look for who's leaving within 10 to 15 seconds after the banana bread goes off.
Yeah, more excellent advice from Screwloose. Monopoly Man
Banana
wishes they had
bread.
it because they doubled Tayan with the idea probably of winning a couple sniper games and stealing one spy game, and now they're going to hope for a split at best, having lost both spy games already, and not have gotten especially close to mission win countdown in either of them. Legorve now with a chance to completely flip this draft on their opponent's head, playing as Teal on Tayan in 3, 2, 1, playing it. And again, Shoji's all on the statues. Wow. RNG, everybody. We are in a useless conversation here because our seduction target is out front. Notice it is the usual ambassador, Taft. We're going with Cowboy here instead, who's a little better for the reverse drive-bys, which are a popular form of bug on Tayan for a lot of different reasons. We are going to resist the Purloin here. We have no mission progress, but our seduction target comes in pretty close to us. And I have to imagine we're going to take advantage of this. We're going to take advantage of that too. A bug. It is the reverse drive-by that I mentioned, and I think there was an opening in the front of the conversation so that the arm might have been uniquely visible for Tayen, but there's no indication that the sniper saw it. Not that getting away with the
Extremely
bug on Tayen.
visible.
Yeah,
I was
extremely
watching
visible.
from sniper side, very much on screen, but Legorve covers it with a talk after the bug, a pretty common strategy to try and say, hey, my arms were flailing around because I was talking, not because I was bugging.
I was gesticulating, not bugging. Don't worry about it. And yeah, it might have been so exposed that it wasn't watched counterintuitively. That is certainly a thing, especially on Tayan, because who would bug there when you're going to have such better opportunities later? Legorve, that's who. And we're going to try a timer flirt just like we did in the previous spy game when Smallman was our seduction target. This time it's Buns, but the same idea, and so far the same result, 34% on the white test. We are going to get that cooldown timer going off pretty soon, get that second one. And the question is, how do we want to finish now? Legorve does not tend to take the safe route. That's a green test, by the way, 85%, so any successful flirt after this will do the trick. Legorve does not tend to take the successful route of I got away with the bug or the purloin or whatever, and I'm just going to finish with soft tails. They tend to like to do that second hard tail, and they usually get away with it. Question is that going to be the case here? Are we just going to go for boring inspects and risk that potentially jumpy everyone has a bug tan shot? Well, we're going to stop as this conversation fills up, and we're going to redirect. That's pretty good, too. Both spies showing some pretty good micro here.
Yeah, a little bit of an AI stop, and I imagine that Legorve, if you're saying, if you're predicting that he's going to go for the hardtail, he'll probably favor either swap, since the fade can't really be seen with the Shoji, or just a purloin behind the Shoji on the right side.
Yeah, Purloin is usually his second hardtail mission of choice on Tan after Bug. It's Bug for pretty much everyone. We're going to finish the flirt here. We have an appropriate distance from our seduction target who leaves afterwards, so obviously we don't cuddle up because we don't have to. That's the kind of tiny little decisions that really good spies make over time. Just squeeze an extra percentage likelihood of victory out here and there. Even though it doesn't make a huge difference, it can add up. Seduce is done, Bug is done, we don't have the contact yet, and we're in with the SDA, not the real DA. A spot just opened up in the other conversation, though, as the ambassador left, and there goes another spot, too, so we can go over and get this contact if we want, and that seems to be the plan. We are also in a pretty good Purloin position if we want to do both of them with a minute left, rather than risk going to statues, but we will not knock out General with the banana bread here, but I think we have to do it anyway. It's a green, and the question is, are we going to go right into statues or do something else? Some lowlights are coming off? Not many. This party is not especially narrowed down, and Legorve has 40 seconds to decide what their final mission is going to be. Drink request, yep.
So it's going to be Purloin here. I don't particularly like this exact angle. I would prefer him to be a little bit more to the right side, because you're going to see that this is a bit on screen here.
Good point. It's a white, too. This might be pretty visible. Oh, we might have gotten a weirdly visible fade again, and we are running away from the list. We're dancing around a little bit. 3 seconds left. There's no indication the sniper sees it, and Legorve does indeed steal 3 of 4 on Monopoly Man's doubled venue with the dreaded Bug Purloin Tan combination. Oh, boy.
Yeah, it was one of those situations where Toby pulled the tray up right as it was happening. General was walking past, and the fade was very hard to see just because of all of the clutter in front of it at the time.
Yeah, however, it was clear that the list was gone sooner than you can normally see on Tayan, right? There wasn't a big delay. Sometimes, you get to the last few seconds of the countdown before you even get a look at the tray. In this case, we had a good 5 or 6 seconds to suss out what had happened. And as you pointed out earlier, that bug was awfully visible. Both of those hardtails, potentially shootable, but, easier said than done. And Legorve now, already in the driver's seat, going into their doubled venue of Ballroom, playing as Salmon Monopoly Man is in 3, 2, 1, playing it. This is not the position you were hoping to be in after those 4 Tan games.
We'll see if Legorve takes note that he's able to get 2 hardtails that are visible on screen by Monopoly Man, and see if he continues to abuse it until he's punished.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of been the story for a season and a half now, is Legorve doing things like that, not getting punished, and just getting better and better at doing them too, the more practice they have. And I think it's going to continue until we get to the kind of division where you can't do that as often, but we're not there yet, apparently. Monopoly Man gets an early flirt, white test 29%. And a Monopoly Man, of course, new to the SCL I mentioned, so we don't have a lot of data on them on any venue. But a handful of games on Ballroom already, and does tend to favor Bug, and that's what most people tend to favor on Ballroom, either that or Purloin. The distinction is usually more people Purloin, but they win more often when they Bug. You can complete Purloin, but the point is to complete it while winning. And if you're looking for a hardtail you complete and win, it's Bug more often than Purloin, even though spies tend to resort to Purloin more often.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a last resort play. Kind of at the end, it's easy to call over the Toby when you have no other options. We did pick up an early highlight standing near the ambassador that was pretty interesting. I think we had a drink in hand, but I think Legorve may just be worried about Salmon having an early bug there and highlights him to watch him for the rest of the game.
That's 2 games in a row where the Spy Monopoly Man is highlit for a bug they do not have and did not attempt. We will crash right through the center of this conversation, however, and you got to imagine the only reason to join this conversation is the contact, and it's a pretty darn good one if we do it right about now. I don't think we want to wait anymore, and we don't. It's a white test, though. Again, those ATs are probably hurting us because we're already highlit when we're talking during the BB. And some low lights come off, but it's not that many. It's a pretty good ballroom highlight, low light count there, not too bad. It looks like Legorve might have taken a couple that left just at the very end, though. So I think we did that a second or two earlier. We would have saved ourselves a low light or two.
And I don't think we're too much of a suspect at this point. Legorve, when the banana bread went off, was prioritizing lowlights and looking more to the right side of the venue. We were actually behind pillar for quite some time, so Legorve wasn't checking to see if Salmon was talking during that banana bread.
Yeah, very good. And Legorve's got a pretty good sniper win rate on Ballroom, but not as dominating as you'd expect, lower than their overall sniper win rate, and that makes sense. Ballroom Spy can get away with quite a bit. But what's Monopoly Man going to try to get away with? Right now, they're trying to get away with doing nothing. We do have another flirt in the meantime, but it's just a standard timer flirt. It's a green test, 81%. That's a wrong arm bug into center statue, and Legorve is all over it. We might have been suspected for the bug, but Legorve has the humility to say, well, maybe they didn't bug. I should probably still watch this mission. And let's see how that looked from the sniper side. That is not that bad. That's a pretty darn good bug. Legorve does not have the perfect angle for it, but they do have a good enough one. And I think as soon as Salmon left that conversation, Legorve was all over it.
Yeah, he was set up with the standard. I mean, on Ballroom, a lot of the times you just have to have the proper angle to guard for bug, and Legorve, obviously well aware of that and is ready to watch whoever's going to walk by the amba for any slight bug arm.
Geez, 4-1 Legorve just like that, and it's unraveling very quickly. Legorve looks like they're on their way for another blowout victory, but it's not over yet. Legorve has to spy now as Plane Twin on Ballroom in 3, 2, 1, playing it. And Legorve, when they get these, what they do is they get these early leads, and they keep their foot on the gas as spy with all those hardtails. And it's just aggressive and confident, and it works. That's what's been happening all season. They have not had to play from behind or play very many close matches, and that has suited their aggressive style very, very well. And I can't imagine they're going to let up now up 4-1. We are high lit already, but it's almost certainly because we're one of the twins.
Oh yeah, I was wondering what the highlight was for, but yeah, probably twin difference.
Well, we could go soul read, or we could go twin highlight, and that's a wrong arm bug, by the way. And I am not at all sure that was seen. That's just a good bug. It's pretty much the exact same thing that Monopoly Man tried to do in the previous game, but with less setup and a little better execution, I think. And that little 5% difference on both counts can make all the difference, even at this level. And now, here's the question. Once again, Legorve probably has to assume they got away with the hardtail, the bug, just like they did on Tayen. So, safe complete or not, we're going to stop talk after our flirt, by the way. I think we're assuming at this point we're not going to get abused for that, so why risk it? Why be seen talking at all? It is a green test, by the way, 51%, so the odds of getting flirt paired were already pretty low. Looks like the goal's going to be fingerprint. Yep, we are obligated to take this, and we do. The goal's going to be fingerprint, so we can either go silent or statueless, and we're going to BB with the briefcase in the conversation. There's enough occlusion that I don't know if it's seen in our hand, and I don't know if we're going to get a low light either. We're just going to... No, we don't even cheese the fingerprint. We just BB holding the briefcase, and I don't know, are we fishing for a low light? If we are, we didn't do it right. If we're going for a fingerprint, same thing. Mm-hmm. I wonder if that was entirely the plan there.
Yeah, I would have liked to have seen Legorve just split with the briefcase to try and net a low light. We were behind pillar a lot of the time, so I'm pretty sure that Monopoly Man didn't really see any of what was going on there.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense either way, right? You can do it to hide a print, you can do it to try to get the low light. I would say one or the other, though. Maybe we think there's a print and there's not, and so we improvise and it throws things off. I don't know. We get a white test on the second flirt, by the way, in the meantime, 85%. So we still have the same decision now. We still don't have a print, which means we're still talking about whether or not to go to statues to do a second hardtail. And so far, we've seen what Legorve favors, and here's a drink offer from Toby. It's not going to be a purloin, though. I see. It seems like Legorve does like purloin, but they like to set it up. They don't seem to purloin impulsively when the waiter just happens to offer.
Yeah, probably Legorve is likely going to be waiting for someone to reject before him, maybe 1 or 2 rejects before he goes for it. And we do another start and stop talk, and then we do our flirt here.
Yep, and we got a
Legorve doing
reject.
that quite a bit.
And we got a reject from Kane in an empty conversation, and then they pieced out right afterwards. So, and Smallman rejects too, and the other twin might be about to. I don't see how you can resist this if we get another reject. We've already waited too long. There's 3 in a row. It's Kane who's at statues, Smallman who's a highlight, and the other twin going for briefcase. Jeez, how are you not going to purloin here? Legorve actually, even in this scenario, does not want to purloin. Would rather just go to center statues, wait a little while. Here comes Seek next to us to block a potential inspect. This could absolutely ruin things. We might purloin after all. We're going to swap instead. It's going to be a white swap. We're going to break animation to put it down and get out of there. Is this going to work? There's only a few seconds left. Monopolyman's all over it. Oh boy, I think Seek might have cost us that game.
Yeah, ready for the swap there, and it does look like Seek definitely may have cost us that game. I don't think we were too much of a suspect. Very surprising that Legorve did not hop on the opportunity for the purloin there. We had, 3 people that rejected and then walked away from where they were at. One of them being Smallman, who was a highlight.
Right, and one of them being another twin, another being Kane, who's inherently suspicious for the bugs, who went to statues afterwards. You could not have asked for a better situation to get on that purloin chain. I think Legorve might have already made up their mind, though, at that point, because if they were thinking about purloining at all, they certainly would have noticed and been pretty tempted. My guess is they were totally thinking about statues and waiting for the right time. Unfortunately, the right time was exactly the wrong time, because Seek had the same idea around the same time, and Legorve, who actually looks like they were going to go for that soft tail finish this time and play it safe, even with a 4-1 lead, nope, a little bit of bad luck, decides to swap instead. Monopolyman still in range, 4-2, but they need to
I
score on
think
Spy Win for it.
a big part of it is also like all of spy games from Legore right now has been a white purloin at the end. So I think if he keeps that pattern up, it's going to be more predictable for Monopoly Man to snipe. So
Excellent point.
I actually like that like inspect decision. It just Seek really made it difficult.
Yeah, no, it's definitely the safer decision most of the time, but the party does not always cooperate, and it is the downside of leaving some of those soft tail missions till late in the game, is that it only takes one little bit of bad luck and suddenly the plans go awry. Question is, but can Monopoly Man pounce? This doesn't mean anything unless they can score a spy win at some point. Is it this point? We'll see. Playing as Red Dress in 3, 2, 1, playing it. That was just a really good bug from Legorve, and I think a mostly good decision to go for the inspects too, but they had a long time to do it. Waited until, I guess, what they thought was the least suspicious time, and it happened to coincide with what the AI wanted to do. Monopoly Man takes control quickly, rushes to the first flirt. Not right next to them, though. Doesn't want to get flirt paired too easily, and it's 30%, so we're going to need a green test. I think maybe a little closer would have been safer, but Monopoly Man playing it very safe, and that'll probably be fine. It's going to be about that hardtail anyway.
Yeah, and I think, honestly, Legorve can continue to go for those white purloins, even though it is a little bit more predictable. Until Monopoly Man can prove that he can catch it and punish it, I would say keep your foot on the gas with the hardtails.
Yeah, not only that, but in that case, if it's 4, if you don't get a good look at the fade, good luck. And you're not that likely to get a good look at the fade on Ballroom. But I still agree with Lazy Bear's general point, which is that you're trying not to become too predictable. And 2 purloins in the first 2 games, you might be thinking from the start of the third one, I don't want to do it, even if a great opportunity presents itself. One of the twins has finished inspects, and there's a big pile of people over here on the right, but nothing really much has happened. Legorve might be a little paranoid, figure, wow, there's a lot of activity, a lot of movement, the ambassador's walking around, but we know very little has happened. Monopoly Man's going to go chase their suction target and again stand at a respectful distance and again hit a white test, and again it's 30%. So we're going to need a moderately close green to 3 flirt here, otherwise it's going to be a 4 flirt on Ballroom, which wouldn't be a problem except for we have no other mission progress.
Yeah, at this point, I'd like to see Monopoly Man hop in for either an inspect or a fingerprint. It doesn't look like we break animation leaving that conversation and pick up a highlight, possibly for breaking that idle on the leave.
Yeah, that wasn't quite right. And there was no cover either. It was just a very, very visible break. Oh boy, look at this. The twin gets shot for,
Wow.
I think, completing
Fingerprintable
inspects
statue.
and fingerprintable statue. Let's go back a little bit here. And I did hear a little something about this. I'm going to cheat just a little bit and suggest that it was about Twin's briefcase early in the game, if we want to take a look. At the very beginning, this looks an awful lot like a spy mistiming the briefcase range there. Look at this. Look at this. It looks like the
Oh,
twin.
wow.
Yeah, there it is. Wow.
Well, Stretch Armstrong.
Yeah, a little stretch, and it looks like they decide to go for the briefcase before the ambassador is that far away from it. There's been a lot of talk in the Discord lately about briefcase ranges. Max Edward Snacks has been posting a lot of independent research about it, and it's fascinating. We've definitely learned that we don't know as much as we think we did about it, at the very least. But this still looks like a very weird edge case. Possible there was a slight redirect at some point,
I
so
think
that they
it's
didn't
Cowboy going to the green pad. Let me double check it. So
Yeah, I mean,
Cowboy
so like,
runs across the green book pad the exact same time that Twin
Yep.
redirects to the briefcase. That's my theory, anyway.
yeah,
That does look right.
I mean,
Yeah.
that makes more sense than anything else I can come up with, right? And I think the idea being they were just walking in that general direction. They get the redirect just as the ambassador is leaving the briefcase range and immediately decide to take it. And since they already have inspects and they pick up another fingerprint, Legorve says, silent game or not, hardtail or not, I'm shooting. And that has let Monopoly Man, that little bit of AI weirdness, slow playing this time too, by the way, picked the right game for it. And now it's at 4-3, and Monopoly Man is sniping for a draw. Remember, they were down 3-1 after their doubled pick, and now they have a chance to do the same to Legorve on the back of that Civ shot. Legorve playing as Ponytail in 3-2-1, playing it. Yeah, I think a pretty understandable shot. It was very weird. On the other hand, very unlikely to be mission complete too there. You could wait for the BB and maybe it knocks out your big suspect.
Yeah, and I don't even think that the Twin at that point had been in enough conversation circles to really finish Flirt. I mean, he'd been at statues, he'd been to Briefcase. There wasn't that much time that had elapsed as of yet, so you can probably reason that they really haven't had time to finish Flirt either.
Yeah, I think so. But, in the heat of the moment, it's a lot harder, certainly. The question is, how's Legorve going to respond? That can be a very tilting loss when you were in control of the set and felt like you were in control of that game, too. Is nailing Monopoly Man on little etiquette things here and there and thought they'd really got him on that last one. Legorve, though, actually playing it cool, and I think that's good. Take a breath after that. Give yourself a moment. Make smart, sound decisions. Don't go too aggro because you probably don't have to. You're spying for a big lead here still late in the set, and at worst, you're going to be tied. So
Yeah,
you're still in good shape.
when a tilting kind of round happens for me mid-set, I'll even take time in between rounds and take a breath and stand up and walk away or what have you to try and just kind of reset my mind about it and then enter into the next game. Obviously, we don't know if that happened here, but we go for the white BB.
Oh my
Split.
goodness. We go for the white BB, and what I can only describe as an aquarium bug, the kind
Yeah.
you do behind the shark. We are doing an aquarium bug on Ballroom, and oh my god, it seems to have worked. So brazen. I think I was wrong about Legorve with the aggro and the breathtaking. We are absolutely still putting the pedal to the floor. We're going to center statue right afterwards, too. We're just going to try to finish this game real quick, although we have no flirt, so I don't know if we're going to be able to rush that. First inspect test is
Could
white.
swap.
Could swap, but it's still under 2 minutes, so I don't know. That's a green. A green? Is it third cycle? I think it
Third
might
cycle.
be. Third cycle and a green swap. We are going flirtless with a bug and another swap on Ballroom this time. I don't know about that. I think the bug was clean amazingly somehow. We're going to walk away from the green swap. There is nobody else, though, blocking the statue. Whoever gets called over, it looks like it's probably going to be a low light. Will that stop them from looking this early in the game? It is a low light. It's Kane, who's knocked out from the banana bread. We red flirt our seduction target just to create more noise in the party. The Kane picks up the statue. 10 seconds. Monopoly Man's all over it. Shoots within 2. He was waiting for that. Wow, what a shot.
Yeah, good
Boy.
presence of mind for Monopoly Man, especially after seemingly missing that bug.
Yeah, it's an early 2 hardtail complete. There has obviously, you've got the party pretty narrowed down, but a low light picks it up, which makes it easy to forget to look for the fade in particular. But Monopoly Man is ready for it, has been watching these replays maybe and seeing the swaps, seeing the double hardtail games. Legorve throws a little chaff in the air with that red flirt too, by the way, which I like. Just one more thing for the sniper to look at. But given how quick Monopoly Man shot, it felt like they were ready for it.
Yeah, and I like the decision by Legorve to go for those hardtails, keep doing it until Monopoly Man punishes it. And at this point, Monopoly Man is punishing the aggression on Legorve, so I wouldn't be surprised if Legorve tries to slow it down here on Veranda.
Yeah, and I think this would have been the game for it too. That brazen bug actually worked, I think, and I think a boring just flirt finish there might have been the trick. Also worth noting, part of the logic here with the swap is who's going to be looking for a swap that early, and specifically, if you see a swap, are you going to narrow it down or actually feel like you have to take a shot? It's a little under 2 minutes, which I feel, tell me if you agree, is right on that line, right? If you finish all your missions at like 2:30, it's very likely the sniper is just going to narrow the party down from the swap rather than shoot. But
Absolutely agree.
yeah, 1 minute they're going to shoot. This was about 1:45, and it went off around 1:27, which I think is probably too late to hope that they're going to hold, right?
Yeah, that's getting really close. That's getting really close to that point of does the sniper shoot or narrow down the party. But I still think there's enough time on the clock that if I was sniping, I probably would just narrow it down and not shoot.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Anyway, Legorve was up 4-1. Both players lose 3 of their 4 doubled venue pick games, and it is tied 4-4. This is already, by the way, the most wins anyone has against Legorve this season, heading into week 5. Every other game's in 7-3 or worse. But Monopoly Man probably not content with just making it a little uncomfortable for the favorite Legorve, looking to score at least a point here. and they're going to either need to hold down that sniper or score another spy win. Veranda, not an easy place to do it, but we're going to try playing his buns in 3, 2, 1, playing it. Geez, what a set this is already. And Legorve, yeah, definitely sweating it out for the first time this season, and since the end of last season, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, Monopolyman does a little bit of a weird take control there, and I feel like I've been catching a couple of these throughout the set. I think they've mostly been on Monopolyman, where they're getting a pretty hard, like 90-degree angle turn on their spy take control. Obviously, neither of them are getting punished, but something that both of them should probably be aware of moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, Legorve has played, I think it's 10 sniper games on Veranda and SCL, has won them all so far. So this is not necessarily the place you want to get that spy win. Monopolyman, however, gets a green BB this time, not white. I don't know if it matters much on this venue. I think you would have rather had the green on some of the other ones, but we'll take it all the same. And we also have 50% on the flirt already, too. So this is some very good early progress, but that's not normally what Veranda comes down to, unless, of course, you get those soft tells done so fast you can really plan the hard tells instead. But we're going to throw a little wrench to that plan with this white test. It's 2 greens and then a white, which means it is going to be a 3 flirt, which will limit our options a little bit. 84% total.
Yeah, I think on this venue it matters a little bit less, just because you need some downtime in conversations between your visits to books and statues and whatnot, and that's usually when you can just pick up your flirt anyways. There is a fingerprint on the red books. The banana bread was good. There wasn't that many people outside of conversation, but on Veranda, needing to complete 5 missions, it's usually pretty good to use the banana bread to also distract from another mission being completed.
Yeah, and against good snipers, even distract from just a single fingerprint. Oh boy, I'm not sure about that briefcase cancel, and Legorve is not either. And once again, Monopolyman, for the 3rd game already in this set, is highlight for a lack of mission progress. Oh boy, that is rough. It is hard to come back from that.
Yeah, we redirected away from the briefcase a bit too early, and we put a little bit of a stop in there. Tex had not even, I think, been down by the time that we turned back, and unfortunately, Legorve caught that.
I think what we're seeing is that it's all downside, too. There are certain players who will reward the good micro, and Monopolyman did have some good micro moves early, but you notice did not get low lit for any of them. So it seems to be, you're not going to bait a low light out of Legorve here. They're going to try to play it straight, but they will highlight when you fail to do it. I don't know if it would even make a difference if it came down to 2 or 3, so I think at this point it's mostly risk and very little reward. Monopolyman has the highlight, has a couple of inspects in the meantime. We are going to go try to finish this flirt now. Any successful flirt will work because the worst you can get is 17%, and we need 16%. We are waiting. There it is. Is that about 7 seconds? No, we're waiting a full 11 seconds this time. That's a little outside the normal range we were talking about. Sorry, I gave away your secret there, Screw.
Yeah, don't tell.
But yeah, this is an exception, though. And there we go. We're going to use our Seduce to distract from the Purloin. Theoretically, it's a green test. We're going to walk away, but we are glowing out in the front of the party, and we're going to another statue, and you got to imagine a shot's probably going to come off. Legorve is zoomed in on this list. A non-highlight takes it. The fade is not especially visible, but I don't think Legorve cares anyway. Yep, we're going to be shot. We're going to assume a bug or something could have happened, and we're shot for our 4th mission.
Yeah, and our leave on that conversation was a little iffy. We kind of bounced and went on the inside of the combo there on the left side of Disney. I suppose we had to because Toby was there, but it still kind of just stands out in the sniper's eye.
Yeah, if you're in the other conversation on the left there, you can afford to break animation to leave after the Purloin, but you're out front and you're glowing. Highlight for the briefcase cancel, shot for the Purloin. Pretty straightforward. Legorve is, when they didn't civ shot, they are basically all over the spy, as it turns out. They are onto them before mission progress. They're onto them before they get to countdown. The civ shot has been the only trip up, but it's the only one Monopolyman has needed to keep pace so far. To keep pace this time, they're going to have to beat Legorve on Veranda, playing as General in 3, 2, 1, playing it. Again, Legorve's preferred missions on Veranda. Pretty standard for most people, bug, Purloin, but a pretty good spread. Microfilm as well. Doesn't usually fingerprint, doesn't usually swap, but that's pretty normal too. Doesn't usually inspect. However, here they are, getting an early inspect in. Let's see, is Monopolyman going for statue highlights? Because there's 3 people at statues already. 4, rather. And no, the twin gets a highlight for being one of the twins. None of the other statue visitors get a highlight, and that's good news for Legorve, who chose to go early.
Yeah, so Monopolyman electing to use his lights for other tracking purposes and is likely just memorizing the inspectors, which can be a bit hard on Veranda because it's 21 guests and there's 4 sets of statues.
Well, based on the mission tendency, it's actually a pretty good move against Legorve, and I think based on this set as well, you're seeing Legorve is not doing the boring, obvious mission setup, so maybe it makes sense to mix it up a little bit. The Ambassador comes right next to us, and we have a very strong character for bugs. We decide not to take one, though. Legorve has favored the walking bugs so far and decides not to take the in-combo one. I'd say that's pretty typical of good spies, actually. They prefer walking bugs. It's something like a 4-to-1 rate, by the way, overall. We are waiting here. We already have a green flirt, by the way, and our seduction target is left, and I think we're waiting for an opening in another conversation. 51% on the flirt, 1 inspect done because the twin stole the other one, but it doesn't matter as long as it doesn't happen again. Seek style, you'll be just fine on the second visit. We don't know when that second visit is going to come, though. There's 3 minutes left on the clock, and we still just have the partial progress across the 2 missions. And boy, is it a good thing Monopoly Man decided not to highlight for statues, because there's been 5 or 6 visitors already, and here comes another one.
And we're in the good spot for the reverse drive-by. This is one of the common spots that you'll see Spy set up. Legorve elects not to go for it, probably because Toby is standing there thinking that the sniper's eye is going to be looking at that spot, because Toby's there, the Amba's walking by, and we're in the good reverse drive-by position.
Yeah, well, we do crash into the Amba and try to bug right away, but it's not going to work. The characters in question are just too fast. Monopoly Man doesn't see the attempt, and why would they? There's no reason to look, because that bug is almost impossible to have take properly without some weird redirect from either you or the Ambassador. So it's a bug attempt that doesn't take. Walking bug, as I mentioned, no surprise there. But we're not in trouble for it. We're going to go right next to our seduction target now that the spot's finally opened up. And, oh boy, it's the General Queen pairing, which I think we saw earlier, too, maybe? I might be wrong.
Oh, that's certainly on purpose from Legorve.
Legorve loves his memes and waited a little while.
wink.
Yeah, waited a little respectful amount of time into the match, the equivalent of the 7 seconds in entering conversation before flirting. Didn't come out with it right away. That'd be a little too much. But it's impressive that the memes come out in a close set, too. It might actually be a way, I've heard this before, sometimes you do something silly like this to relax yourself. And in a stressful situation like this, something a little silly can help. It's weird, but it works. We need one more flirt, by the way. That second one was not green, and we do chase our seduction target, and we immediately leave. And you can see Legorve not respecting etiquette, not getting caught for it, and going back, by the way, to the same statue they went to at the beginning. Are we going to try to frame someone? Nope, we're going to get a fingerprint instead. It's a little late to be getting our first fingerprint, but we have Seduce done this time. 1 inspect, 1 fingerprint, and 1.5 minutes. We do get a highlight this time. The highlights are for completing inspects, it looks like.
Well, certainly we couldn't be completing inspects because we've only been to the same one. Not sure that Monopolyman memorizes that. Maybe it's a highlight for the fingerprint. At this point, though, there's only 1:10 left on the clock, and I don't think we have enough mission progress to get a mission win unless we do a bunch of hard tells at the end here.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It might just be, hey, this person was at statues, and I'm not bothering to remember which one because there's a 3 out of 4 chance it's a different one, all things considered. But in this case, it's incomplete. The mission is, and the sniper may be mistaken. But that helps us anyway, sniper, because you want to be suspicious of this person, and we are! The green purloin alone doesn't. We are all over them for possibly an inspect complete that didn't happen, or maybe just for going for that print. Might have, by the way, seen the animation break leading into it. It looked like they got away with it, but they did break animation on that conversation after Seduce was done to go to the statue.
Yeah, and a surprising shot onto General before the purloin even goes off. I think Monopoly Man just reading into the fact that it was BB with Toby there, and it just looked like a really good setup.
Wow, 5-5. And now Monopoly Man can still win this outright, has 2 chances to draw blood on Legorve for the first time this season of anyone, and will have at least a sniper game on library for the draw. This is not the position anyone expected Monopoly Man or Legorve to be in, but that Civ shot, it's all it has taken because Monopoly Man has been so good on the sniper otherwise. But you don't want to be sniping for that draw at the end. You'd love to just take it right here. It's a tough order, but we're going to try playing as Seek, the bane of Legorve's existence on the ballroom game, maybe here on the library game too. In 3, 2, 1, playing it. Wow, it's amazing. I don't think anyone thought this would even get to 5, and here we are.
No, a very surprising set. Everyone was pretty much expecting Legorve to dominate the division, and he mostly has been. So Monopoly Man showing up and really giving Legorve a run for his money.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot to ask to say dominate a division and never even have a close match. You know, a lot can happen on a given match. And Monopoly Man, by the way, all 3 of their matches leading into this were all 7-5s. So even though the results have been a little mixed, it's been very close. And take it from me, a 5-7 and a 7-5 have almost no difference between them, especially the higher you go. So Monopoly Man's strength might have been hidden, but I think the word's going to be out after this result, whatever it ends up being. We do have a flirt already, 51% behind the pillar. And it looks like we're just going to time our flirt. There's still 4 minutes left on the clock. We did start early enough, so we're still in pretty good shape.
Yeah, and getting a spy win on library is a tall order. I believe statistically it's very sniper favored.
It absolutely is, yeah, and especially against good snipers. That's the big divide, is that the bigger venues can be pretty tough for intermediate snipers, but the good snipers tend to really lock them down, and Legorve is absolutely a good sniper. Monopoly Man being a little more careful on their etiquette this time, does leave at the correct time and goes to a green shelf afterwards. Our seduction target is far away, but also slow, and we're going to want to see where they end up. This is a fingerprintable book, however, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to get the fingerprint early. We've got partial progress on the Seduce. The question is the book going back in? I have to imagine it probably is. Doesn't seem like a great time to rip that book out or dump it. Monopoly Man agrees, puts it back. Is not even eyeing up the seduction target, though. Not thinking about it at all. Is eyeing up a useless conversation over here, but again, it's behind the pillar. Might start to notice that after a while. We do have a highlight, too.
Maybe we're setting up for some type of double walking bug as the Amba passes, or going for a purloin, or maybe we're just wasting time and Monopolyman thinks that he's a suspect, but it is a pretty useless conversation, and you've got to be careful with how much time you waste on library because you need quite a bit to actually try and get a mission win.
Yeah, you absolutely do, and I don't know if you can bank on a Civ shot or not, and if you are, you need to be eyeing it up, but the problem is, once again, we are highlit with very modest progress. That is not a way to win these games.
Mhm.
But he is
And what
definitely being more cautious. I think going to that empty conversation there, basically, I think it's just an admission that, wow, he's been nailing me for the aggression.
looks like we're going to head in over to the double agent. Kind of behind pillar here. We might set up for another purloin. Amba walks by. We don't take the opportunity to go for a double walking bug. That's one that I'm starting to see more of on library. Is you set up in these positions, and as the Amba is walking, you walk with them and take the bug.
Banana bread.
Yep, and you have to credit it, but it's almost never visible if you do it right. I agree with you. It definitely seems to be becoming more popular, and spies seem to be getting better at it too. Whether the meta will shift again, we'll see. But we don't take the opportunity here. We do take the banana bread, however, and we are going to go try to finish this floor. There's a spot next to our seduction target. Take the long way around the conversation, and she leaves the moment we enter. We were already running maybe a little bit low on time with 2 full minutes left, but it's going to be even harder now, and we have to see where she goes. Monopolyman, determined to go get something else done, redirects away from the briefcase into statues, hoping, again, maybe some kind of low-light bait, but I don't think it was even on screen. Legorve is watching the ambassador and the guest list on the other side of the venue. We're going to get an inspect done here, and we are already being zoomed in on watching for a potential swap finish. That does not bode well for our abilities to get to mission win countdown here.
I think we could have went for a timeout instead of this inspect, maybe timeout into inspect, but we're running low on time, and you want to get that timeout in before the sub 1 minute mark. So we're in a little bit of trouble for Monopolyman.
Yep, Seduction Target is still going all over the place and doing it very, very slowly. One of the slowest characters, and that can be good in some cases and bad in others. And I think it's bad right now because we have to wait so long to see where she's going to end up. She's going back to the same spot, roughly, where she was when she spurned us the last time. General swoops in instead. We are faster than Cowboy, so we can get here first. We do not go next to our Seduction Target. We might have already given up on mission complete. That might be the idea here, but we're going to flirt anyway. It's a white test, 76%. Anything moderately close next time will work. I have to imagine we're going to purloin here, otherwise we're just not going to finish. Legorve is still watching the ambassador very closely. There is a purloin indeed. It's a green, but it is on screen, and we walk away from the pillar, and we're near the Amba too. Legorve has every reason to look at that area, and it looks like they probably saw this reject. I think this is going to be a shot. Here it comes. It's behind the pillar. Tex takes it. Doesn't matter. There it goes. Seek down, and Legorve is going to walk away with a draw at worst.
Picks up 1 marble. Yeah, very unfortunate that the ambassador came over to us as we were setting up for that green purloin. So it gave Legorve every reason to look at that area of the venue, and it's just on screen. Then we're also seen leaving and bailing into statues afterwards, so it's a pretty obvious setup there.
Yeah, Legorve catches a lot. You really can't let them get onto you with these early highlights. It seems like it spells doom every time. You got to get more mission progress before you become a suspect, I think.
Mhm.
Easier said than done, though, certainly. Now, also easier said than done, win a sniper game against Legorve. It is on library. That sounds all right. That's probably where you want to be, but it's against one of the better and more aggressive spies in your division or in any division, perhaps. Legorve still has a chance after all this to walk away with an outright win, obviously with a lot more effort than perhaps they were expecting. No disrespect to Monopolyman, who has played a tremendous set and definitely put people on notice, but they would love to come out of this with at least a point against the division's overwhelming favorite. Legorve playing his buns on library for the outright win in 3, 2, 1, playing it, and let's see how they played it, because they have gone back and forth on these hardtails, the softtails. They tried the softtail thing once, it didn't work. They went right back to the hardtails, it didn't work. What's it going to be this time on library?
Does she have more than 1 bun?
That's a good question. Yeah, you might be right, but bun sounds weird. It doesn't. I don't like that. I think bun sounds better, right? It's easier to say. It's just a phonetic
Is that
choice,
even
right?
really a bun? Sorry's
I
got
think so.
more of a bun than she does.
I think it does, but as was pointed out to me, boots doesn't really work because there's more than one character that has boots. Also,
She's got the coolest boots.
we stopped talking immediately after talking, and it wasn't a flirt we were trying to cover. And that's a bug attempt that somehow takes defying all laws of physics with the wrong arm bug, nowhere particularly near the ambassador, but we swerved near them just in time for the magical wrong arm bug to take. And then we go with the aggressive flirt and immediately bail into books. I was going to say Legorve was playing it weirdly slow there for a second, but this is the Legorve we've come to know and love and be excited watching. And we're going to fingerprint this book too. The question is this going back in? Or are we just going to keep this head of steam up? I think, yeah, Legorve says, I just got so much done in the last 20 seconds. Walking away with a book might be one thing too many.
Yeah, in stark contrast to how Monopolyman was playing Seacon Library last round, Legorve is putting on the gas and getting a lot of mission progress early, breaking tons of etiquette that's not being picked up, which is surprising on Library. With Veranda, you have to wait for the sniper to rotate around, so there's a fixed amount of time before they can rotate. So you have that freedom to break etiquette because you know they can't see it, whereas on Library, they could just flick their mouse and catch you.
Yeah, technically it's 33% at any given moment that they'll have you on screen, right? But they can flick back and forth as you said. But Legorve rightly deciding discretion, the better part of valor. I don't need to be any more aggressive after that rush of activity and success. Fingerprint, flirt, bug, boom, 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 just like that. Our seduction target is left in the meantime and is bouncing around. We got to see where they go. We continually talk and stop talk. It seems like we're talking when we're obligated and then stopping immediately. And as you mentioned, has not been punished for it at all. Take note, Copper Snipers. This is what he's going to do until you make him pay for it.
Is
And it
that
hasn't happened.
just to avoid a no talk?
Yeah, I think it's either to avoid there are two reasons, right? Either to avoid a no talk or to interrupt people constantly and get them to leave. You remember that red flirt on ballroom to distract from the swap, just create a little bit more activity? Why not? I wonder if the idea is to get more people leaving conversations. It's either to avoid no talks or to create leaves with the interrupts, because when you interrupt AIs, they are more likely to leave, or at least that seems to be the consensus.
Ah, I
We
didn't know that.
are Yeah, we are near our seduction target here. We are not right next to them because we don't have to be. Any successful flirt will do, and this is more than close enough. We will finish right here. I guess we're going to probably stop talk. We sure do, and it is off screen indeed. Bug is done, Seduce is done, Fingerprint is half done. We have 2 minutes left and a million ways to finish.
Yeah, we're great on timing here. 2 minutes on the clock. We've got our seduce and our bug. We can pick up contact easily, and fingerprint shouldn't be too hard to finish. So we've just got to work on getting either inspect complete or maybe going for a purloin. Microfilm is an option, but we're kind of running low on time to get that started. So I'm expecting probably an inspect complete here.
Yeah, could be. I will say, though, we need to find another mission. We could go silent. The thing is, Legorve purloins on library a lot. It's just a huge part of their game plan. I don't know if they can resist it, even though it seems like at this point they could easily complete without it. But we are running a little bit lower on time. The double agent joins, and that does allow us to get that third mission in. And now we can fingerprint and anything else for the win. The bug is already done, though. Purloin or inspect. It's the same decision we had before. We're going to go to a side statue. I assume there's a fingerprint here. Otherwise, why on earth would we do it? It is indeed a fingerprint. So I don't know if we're going to finish inspects here. We'll see. We could go right to center statue right afterwards and be done with this, but there's a minute left. That is inherently suspicious. We put it back down. Left or right? Where's it going to be? Left.
No
We are
inspect.
not going back to the statues.
We took the fingerprint, but no inspect on that.
Yep, no intention of finishing at all, it looks like. If we go behind this pillar, it sure seems like a purloin setup. Yep, we are behind the purloin pillar potentially. I don't know if it's the best one because it's near that time add window too, but we don't need to add time because we need one mission in 50 seconds, and we are not even a suspect. We're going to weirdly redirect onto this bookcase, and I wonder if we're just killing time here. I think maybe we're just waiting for a better time to purloin.
Odd pathing there into the blue book. I'm not sure that it was seen by Monopolyman, even though the laser was over there.
Yeah, it might have been to try to do a redirect, assuming General took our spot, but I'm not sure if it came off that way. And where are we going next? We're about to find out. 30 seconds left. This is going to determine what happens next, and it's looking like the pillar again. It's, a little smashed into the conversation unnaturally so that we will be even more behind the pillar than usual. We are almost completely behind it. We hit a green test anyway, and I don't know if Monopolyman's seen it. Barely any of the characters visible. Are we going to leave? We don't have to. Toby leaves for us, goes to a different conversation. This could not be going better. There's going to be overtime no matter what. And oh my goodness, we get a reject afterwards too. And this clock is going to hang. This clock is going to hang. Who's going to take it? Is it Cowboy? It is Cowboy. Overtime beeps. They start before the take, and someone else gets shot as a result. It's Seek. Seek again playing the foil. Legorve wins 7-5. Wow.
Yeah, I think Monopolyman suspecting that the finish was Seek getting a second fingerprint off that briefcase.
Yep. So it's a pretty strong purloin, and I think it was going to work either way, but this might be something that I've actually lost games to myself. When someone takes the purloin that triggers overtime like that, the beeps start before the actual drink take. And in that moment, if you're all over it, as I think Monopolyman might have been, and as I was in the example I'm thinking of, you figure, I guess it wasn't the purloin, the beep started too early. That is let's say, either a bug or unintended behavior. It has in fact been reported. It doesn't usually end up swinging games, but in this case, there's a chance, I think, that the timing of the beeps threw the sniper off and caused them to figure somebody else must be finishing. It's not related to the purloin. Oh boy, if that's how it went, that is absolutely heartbreaking, and it's got to be tough to come this close to scoring a point off the division favorite and come away with nothing other than perhaps some increased notoriety for Monopolyman. But it's still a heck of a set, and the first person who's made Legorve sweat since the tournament of position last season.
Yeah, very good match by both players. Monopolyman showing that he could be vying for second place or possibly first, depending on how the rest of the season goes in their division. Now, I wonder, the way I've always interpreted the purloin with the overtime beep is it's kind of right when the spy presses the take drink option, right when they start that animation, not when the list disappears. So maybe that's kind of the difference there.
Yeah, and I think it's mirrored for the civilian who takes it as well. But it's not intuitive, and it's not something a lot of snipers will even know after thousands of games. It's something I didn't know until thousands of games, because that exact situation does not come up very often. And even more rarely in a situation where it costs you potentially a point. However, I think we probably got away with that Purloin pretty clean regardless. I think somebody else would have gotten shot, but probably not the spy. So I doubt it swung the outcome. And that civilian shot on Ballroom didn't either. So, wow, what a set. But look, it's pretty hard to be so dominant that you don't even play a close match all season in a best of 12. So might not have always been plausible.